All right, everybody, welcome to Johnson Valley and Hammertown, USA. I'm Ian Johnson. With me in the booth today is Scott Rain. Scott, what's today? Today's all about what?
Qualifying for the EMC.
That's absolutely right. We are qualifying for the EMC today. Every class will leave the line today. 4,600, 4,800, 4,500. Over, you counted them, Scott. How many cars are leaving the line today?
93.
93 cars leaving the line today to go out on our race, and it's really, really important that they get that fresh air, clean air out on that qualifying race. So we've got them all lined up, and we'll be ready to go in just a minute. Looks like our first batch of cars is a good mix. We got some 4,800s and some 4,500s in there. First car on the line is going to be Russ Glave, I believe it is. And
Ross Glave, yes.
Yeah, Glave, and he's sitting on the line right now. We're just waiting to get the cue for him to drop the flag, and he'll go out and run our qualifying course. That'll kick off our day of racing. Well, I guess it's not really racing. A day of qualifying here in Hammertown.
I'm kind of wondering what the dust
And there he
situation
is.
is going to be like.
Looks like he is off the line.
Wow. Nosing in pretty hard off that first jump. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. But I'm kind of wondering about the weather conditions. Actually, the weather itself is gorgeous this morning, but the dust conditions, everything's starting to dry out a little bit, and there's no wind.
Beautiful day, and yes, like you said, it is dry, and there will be some dust. The nice thing about qualifying, though, is they are staggered, unlike on race day, so I don't think it's going to be a huge issue when it comes to qualifying. What always happens on these qualifying courses is in the afternoon, you know, we have the power hour racers who are out here laying it down. We put the premier racers in that prime time slot. But the problem is that prime time slot, you get a lot of sun in your face. I'd rather be the first qualifier off the line today, just like Ross is right now. I think that's a good spot to be. Just set the pace, set the bar as high as you can, and come back into Hammertown and have everyone chase you for the rest of the day.
Well, hope he has... Hope he's medicated, because that got to be a little bit tense, I think, if you're sitting up there in the top spot for a very long time.
Hey, at least you got the whole day to watch everyone else try to knock you off. You saw him stop there, shift the car into low range, ended up into the rocks for his qualifying course. You saw them through the short course in town. This is a 4,800 car. Similar to an Ultra 4 car, but it's a few different rules that they have to abide by, so don't get that unlimited class rules that everyone else gets. A lot of the times you see old Ultra 4, 4,400 cars fall back down into this class. He's taking a couple different shots on this. It's probably not what he wanted for his qualifying course.
Now, it looks like, are they running the same course in qualifying that UTVs did yesterday?
I am not 100% sure on that, Scott, but
Kind of looks like they are so far.
They do have the chance to pre-run the qualifying course if they get into Hammertown early enough. The problem is, most of the time people get here just in time to show up to race because they're still busy putting the car together. You can see him drop back down, back onto the desert floor. Question would be, when did he make that change from low range to high range? I'm going to assume he probably did it at the top of that race. Scott's got to mute his phone up here in the booth for a second. That's just, that's all right.
That's a bill collector.
And you can see him back down onto the short course, head back into town. A little bit of desert section here to work his way through.
It's still pretty chewed up from last night.
Through the arch.
Yesterday.
There's already been a pile of racing in the desert today. We had, or the desert this week, we've already had some T1s, B1s, T2s, a whole bunch of big guys out there playing around. UTVs were on that course yesterday. And then, of course, a bunch of people out just having fun. And here he comes. He's coming in. We'll get a time as soon as he crosses the line. Waiting for my timer to update. Next off the line, Thomas Biddle. Thomas is in a 4,600 car, very different vehicle. Old Toyota, nothing wrong with that. He'll just be going a little bit slower. You can see those leaf springs working.
Whoa.
Yep. Nothing like launching your leaf spring rig in the short course.
We had a chance to take your pre-run out there yesterday and ran a bunch of different areas out there. What was it like for you? What were you noticing?
It's just the desert's tore up. There's just, when all those trucks get through, all those guys get through, it just beats up the desert. All those T1, T2 trucks. All right, I'm still waiting to get some times on our first qualifier. Right now we're watching Thomas Biddle out there in his 4600 car. Bucking his way through the rocks.
Seven's got kind of a full back shot. See it.
There's Thomas Biddle plugging his way through the rocks, 4600. You can see that's a very, very different vehicle than Ross had out there. Ross's is a 4800 car. That's very, very different rules. You know, Thomas, you can see he's still running leaf springs front and rear. Almost a full-body Toyota pickup truck. And these are just hard trails to hit in a rig like that. Almost like an old school Johnson Valley crawler thing right there. You always want to have a whole bunch of leaf springs if you can get them out here.
Yeah, the recovery crew had quite the workout yesterday. I kind of have a funny feeling today's going to be no different. 93 cars coming out, qualified today.
You know, and that's the tough part. You know, yeah, the good thing is qualifying is early in the week for these guys. It's only Tuesday. They don't race until Friday this year. So if something does go wrong,
that car was struggling going over, just going through this track.
Oh, he's backing off the course.
oh, it looks like he's being waved off course. It looks like there might be something broken in that car.
Old school.
Course official out there, looks like he was waving him off to one side.
He finished.
Watching them on yesterday in UTV qualifying, it's hard for us to get a concept of how steep that area is until you start keying and watching the recovery crews and them walking, or having issues walking around up there.
Yeah, it's not an easy place to walk around here in Johnson Valley. I already fell down twice yesterday when I was out on the trails, but that's just normal. Gravity, it's like gravity is a little bit stronger on certain trails out here in Johnson Valley, and you fall down a lot, but that happens.
Has nothing to do with age.
It could have something to do with age, yep.
So it looks like Don Biddle's being guided off course to the right, so we're getting ready now. Our next driver to come out will be Kyle Cunliffe. Cunliffe?
I believe it's Cunliffe.
Cunliffe? He'll be our third car off the line in a 4500.
There you've got the mix of the three classes that we're going to see today. We're going to see 48, 46, and 4500 cars all day today.
Man, it's just sketchy going down. It is going up.
Kind of slow to get out.
Can't
Looks
quite
like
tell.
he got turned around on course. So he must not have been broken that bad. He may have just maybe lost front wheel drive or something. That's why he was having trouble on the ledge, or maybe broken axle shaft, but he appears to be coming down. Like we said before, the good news is he has a few days to get his car back together, and based on the look of the bed of that truck, I'm quite sure he's got all the spare parts he's going to need. You'll get that car back in Havertown. The sounds of it, it sounds like we have Kyle Cunliffe off the line. If I heard some horsepower. Yep, there he is in the short course. He's working his way through. This is a 4500 series car.
Now, what makes this different than the other two that we've seen on course?
Well, we have many different classes. We have a stock class, we have the Legends class, and then we have the modified class. Different rules for each one. Best way to find out is to look them up on ultra4racing.com because they are all different. See him headed out there into that first rock section.
This area right here yesterday in UTV qualifying was really where everybody was separated, whether you could get up that thing without shifting. You only had to shift once at the bottom and you carry it through. It just, everybody struggled, probably except the top 5 guys. Everybody else struggled up this thing.
You know, and that could come down to pre-running as well. I mean, like we said before, they are allowed to pre-run this qualifying course and get out there and see what happens out there. This is a 4500 series car, so this would be a modified class.
You know, one thing I found interesting too that we were taking note during qualifying yesterday is the fact that the UTVs, you think you want to make those things as light as possible, and I'm kind of thinking it will carry over to this. You get the spare tire off, don't run have your spotter or your co-driver with you, make that thing as light as possible. Is this a situation too? Or is the horsepower negate all that?
No, I don't think so, because we've seen it in qualifying before when people will ditch the spare and get out and have problems on those qualifying courses, because they go out and shock tune that car in race dress. So you're going to go out and you're going to shock tune, set up the suspension in that car with your shock manufacturer or your tuner, and you're going to have it set up for exactly how you're going to take that thing to the big dance on Saturday, or in this case on Friday. So if you start making changes now, it's going to handle completely different. We've seen people pull the spares off and roll a car on the qualifying course and make them start at the back of the pack, and it's not worth it. I think you race the car, you qualify the car how you plan to race the car. So down in our picture-in-picture right here on the right-hand side is a quick glimpse of, we have so much action coming to you from Hammers today. We needed 2 screens, we needed 2 feeds. So here's how this works. Your standard feed is basically your normal live stream that we've been watching every year. But down in the bottom right-hand corner, we got a little glimpse of what's coming off on our premium feed. So if you want to watch the motos, just go to ultra4racing.com/live and you can subscribe to the premium feed. You'll be able to see that moto action. For everyone else, we're just going to be covering qualifying all day today. You know, even if you just got the premium feed for the 2 big races on Friday and Saturday, definitely be worth it, because there's going to be a lot of action for the rest of the week in that feed as well.
Well, that added package, the premium package, also helps you out the rest of the season as well. It's not just for this weekend.
Absolutely. You
get
a lot of
added footage, behind-the-scenes interviews, a lot of extras that come with that premium package all season long.
Yeah, and they'll give you my email address, so you can email me and ask me questions and things. And no, you can't do that. I'm just joking. But anyone can find my email address. Not that hard. So we saw our that car had a little bit. We had that's Kyle I don't know, Kyle Cunlife, I think it is. Anyway, so Kyle was out there. We saw him have a little bit of problem on that hill, but it looks like he finally got through it, and he'll be headed back into Hammertown now. Probably one of the reasons he was having a little bit of difficulty there is because this class, must run a 37-inch DOT tire, so no sticky tires in this class at all, so you don't get to take advantage of that sticky tire competitive advantage. And anyone out here who does any type of even recreational wheeling, I have what would be called cheater tires, which are sticky tires on all of my trucks, because it makes my life a lot easier climbing up rocks, and it does make a huge difference.
Kyle now making his way into Hammertown to the short course.
Still waiting on some times to get back in. As soon as we get some times to you, we'll make sure we share them with you. We're just waiting on race ops to get us some times. On the line after Kyle is Randall Holmes in a 4800 series car. As I said before, 3 different classes. 4800 is your Legends class car.
But they're all being timed as one class today, right? Correct?
No, these are each qualifying for their specific class. When they leave the line, they will leave the line. 4800s, they'll be leaving the line. Even if they weren't, they're going to naturally separate out in that. We may see a little mix-up, but the reality is the stock class car is not going to be able to outpace a Legends class car on a qualifying course. There's just no way it's going to be able to do it. So Randall Holmes is out on course right now.
Yeah, Kim Sparrow's scheduled to come out next. Right after Kim will be Brent Dixon and Mike Miller are the 3 that are on deck, so to speak. Ah.
All right, I am sorry. I made a mistake. That is Kimberly Sparrow in that car. Car number 872. We're dealing with a little bit of hiccups here on our live show, just basically getting all the information correct for you guys. I apologize for that. That is how it works when you try to broadcast a live television show from the middle of nowhere. And anyone who's been out in Johnson Valley understands that we literally are in the middle of nowhere. This is Kimberly Sparrow. She made quick work of those rocks. Coming back into Hammertown, did not have any checkup on that ledge, which was really, really good. We saw our previous driver, Kyle, in the 45-55 have a problem. Now this Legends car does get to run different tire package.
Every once in a while I'm glancing down at the motos, and jeepers criminy, these guys are smoking their tires. That's gotta be crazy up there.
All right, off the line is Brent Dixon in another 4800 series car, Legends car. A lot of these are, a lot of people are now building cars specifically for the Legends class. A lot of vehicles that used to be very competitive 4400 cars will fall back down into this Legends category. Legends cars have a little bit more strict rules. Obviously, you don't see any IFS in the Legends class. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I guess you could if you really wanted to. There were some people who built a car specifically to race in this class in Legends, but it is strict rules in this one, and that's why you see these old school Hammers looking cars that we used to race a long time ago in this class. Very competitive class though. Great class if you're looking to get into Ultra 4 racing. Great class to think about. This is Brent Dixon in 224, and it looks like he's headed out into the rocks, doing really well so far. Well, I mean, that's always the question, right? The question is, when do you put it in low range? Do you put it in low range? Have you pre-ran? If you spend a lot of time in the car, sometimes shifting into low range is incredibly easy. You could get up that in high range. It does work the car really, really hard. Works the transmission actually incredibly hard to be climbing that in high range, but it is doable. And on a short course like this, it's definitely probably going to save you a lot of time.
I don't think Brent actually did stop.
Well, you don't.
Shift. It was hard to tell.
Don't technically have to stop to shift into low range. You
Just
could
got your timing down.
You could knock it into neutral, get that transfer case, or as our friend who couldn't join us this year from England, Jim Marsden would say, transfer box. So I won't have to correct him very much this year, which is good. So I don't have to learn my English phrases. I can just stick with my American English.
I guess I should go monitor our website, wait for his response on that comment.
All right, so here he comes back into Hammertown. Brent Dixon's coming back in, and when he's back in, we'll get ready to leave out with the 4507 of Mike Miller. $4,500 being our modified class. Cars looking very similar, but very subtle differences that make them perform very differently in the rocks. Big difference between the 45 and the 48 is going to be in the steering. The 4500s do get to run two 2.5-inch diameter shocks per corner, which does help them in the high-speed desert sections. Everyone today is limited to that. Well, I shouldn't say this. The 45s, and the 48s are limited to that 37-inch non-sticky DOT tire. But the 4500 modified class must have mechanical steering, so some type of steering gear, whereas our Legends cars, because they are, some of them are old Ultra 4 cars that used to race in 4400 class, you'll see them with full hydraulic steering. That can make a huge difference in the rocks. It just sort of depends how you set the suspension up. It also makes it a lot easier, even with a single shock, sometimes go a little bit faster in the desert because you're not battling that track bar on the front end that you would have with a steering gear versus a full hydraulic setup.
Tell you, Mike Miller's looking very strong right now. So once again, I keep glancing down to the lower right-hand corner at the Motos event going on right now. Again, that's part of the premium package. And man, just the scenery up there and the, oh, now it disappeared. I guess we didn't pay for the premium package.
So much action here on Hammertown this week. We had to give 2 live feeds because 1 live feed couldn't contain it all. So we basically have a standard live feed and then a premium live feed, and the premium live feed is full of extras all week long, and this is one of the very first ones that's photos you can watch on your premium live feed. If you want it, just go to ultra4racing.com/live, click on that premium live feed. You can also go ahead and order some merch while you're there. I mean, I would. If you want to look cool, get yourself some Ultra 4 swag. Got myself a new shirt now.
And actually,
jacket,
it ships
shirt.
out. Not
They'll
from necessarily the lake, but
they
it
will
ships
ship
out
it to you. Yep.
right today. If you order it today, it ships out today.
Yep. You could look cool as soon as UPS finds your house.
Sean Rod is a Rodski, the 866.
Sean Rodski.
So Sean's on the course right now.
Yep.
On the 866.
4800 car. Looked to be very well set up based on how he left that short course and blasted in the desert. It was a nice flat jump there.
Rick Leviso is scheduled to go out next. And after him will be Rob Graham and James Panzella. Right now we're watching Sean in the 866. No, you don't. We're scheduled to have Rick Levizo, Rob Graham, James Panzella will come out onto the course in that 11th spot. Patrick Beckwith, Jack Peterson, Chris Pierce, and Michael Faut will be the last one in this hour of qualifying.
Yeah, I've got a few times so far. It looks like we got Rick Levezzo. Looked to be a 216.649. Mike Miller was a 225.99. Those are both 4,500 class cars. If I jump up to a 4,600 class here, looks like we've only had one car. That's Thomas Biddle. And I don't believe he finished. I believe, if I remember correctly, he was waved off course. And in 4,800, we got Sean Rajke currently sitting in the pole with a 158.077. Behind him, Brent Dixon, 217. Kimberly Sparrow, 219. She looked to be on a tear when she was out there. Ross Glaive at 247, sorry. And Randall Holmes at a 504. Certainly, we're going to see those polls, all those numbers change all day today. But those are just some initial numbers right now. We are working on getting all that information up to those of you watching at home.
What's kind of interesting too is I'm looking through the different hours, the lineup in the hour number 2 and 3 in qualifying, and then I kind of jump back to, or jump forward to power hour. And there's 15 cars qualifying in each hour leading up to power hour, and then we have 21 cars qualifying then. And pretty good group of names there, Ian. Starting with Dawson Allington, be the first car out in power hour. With Chuck Crossland, Dwayne Garrettson, Sean Rance Sr., Cameron Steele is coming out in power hour. Levi Shirley, Albert Contreras. Some of these names you know very well. Casey Gilbert, you might be joining us sometime today up here in the booth. David Hartman, Cody St. Clair, Justin Hall, Jesse Oliver, Ken Goodall, Justin Barr, Jeremy Jones, Dan Fresh. How about this for the last 3 in power hour? Dan Fresh, Cade Rod, and Brad Lovell.
Yeah, it's going to be a good mix. You know, the Lovell brothers, we saw them in that T truck before, and or the T2 truck, I believe, earlier this week. And, you know, they did very, very well.
3rd place, I believe, in class.
So it'd be good to see the Lovells out there. One person that I'm looking to see out here on the course is a young lady in her Samurai, and that is Amber Turner. So she's going to be out here racing. She's in the stock class in that Samurai, and I'm super excited to see that.
She's really created kind of a cult following. Some of the companies behind the scenes that help bring this event out here to Lakebed every single year, but this year in particular, obviously, is 4-Wheel Parts, Action Sports Canopy, All Balls Racing Group, Amsoil, ARB 4x4 Accessories, Axial, Baja Jerky, Bomber Eyewear, Boxo USA, Branik Motorsports, Buggy Whips, Can-Am, Dana, Empey, Factor 55, and then the Ford New Scope Marketing, Forest River, Griffin Thermal Products, HCR Racing, Daystar, and Holly EFI. It's a long list of people that have helped us out.
All right, looks like we have the 4850 of Christopher Pierce about to leave the line. Sorry if we missed a couple drivers leaving the line. We had some technical glitches up here in the booth getting our feed back up and running, but we are back in play right now, and I believe that is Jack Peterson on course. But that All right, we were almost through our first pile of qualifying here this morning. As Scott had said, we've got about 15 cars in each section here that are going to be leaving the line. And while we finish up this first group, I'm going to jump over to our live scoring and just pick up a couple of finishers here. So I'm going to start with the 4,500 class. It looks like Rick Levezzo is still holding at pole position at 2:16. Mike Miller right behind him with a 2:25. That's in 4,500. 4,600. Thomas Biddle is still our only one to leave the line, and it looks like he is obviously, we have a DNF on him. He didn't finish that run, so we don't have a time for him. And then 4,800 right now, Sean Radke is still sitting at the top, 158. Brent Dixon, 217. Kimberly Sparrow, 219. Rob Graham, 224. Patrick Beckworth, 234. Ross Glaive, 247. And Randall Holmes with a 504. Now, these are all unofficial times, obviously. Here, I'm just pulling these off of the scoring section of ultra4racing.com. You can do the same at home. You can just log on there. If you're looking for your favorite driver, you can see where they land today during qualifying. You can follow along with them on the racetrack. And if you subscribe to the premium feed, you can even choose different camera angles on the big race day, so you may be able to see them run their favorite trail. And right now we are watching, as I believe this might be our last qualifier for the 9 o'clock hour.
We skipped around a little bit on our drivers heading out on the course, and I think you're right, Ian. This might be the last driver in the first hour of qualifying. Oh, no it isn't. So it's Jack Peterson taking the green flag in his four-wheel parts Everyman Challenge qualifying effort.
And down there on the right corner of your screen is King of the Motos, which is happening at the same time on the opposite part of the valley here in Johnson Valley. That's part of the premium package at ultra4racing.com/live. You'd be able to switch back and forth between these two, or just watch the motos if you're a moto fan and you want to see these guys take these bikes and run these rock trails, which is absolutely insane. I would break my ankle before I made it out of Hammertown, let alone into some of these rock trails. It's just kind of crazy to watch them.
They're going to finish this race, whenever that is, take a break, come back and do it again later on this afternoon. They're doing it twice.
Yeah, and then the big news in the motos, obviously, is still, we talked about it the other day, is Cameron Steele's out there. Cameron Steele is competing in every single event that we have in this week in Hammertown. So he's out there in the motos. So I'll have to check in later with Ricky Johnson, who's actually running that feed over on our premium channel, and see how when I go get a coffee, I'll check in with him and see how Cameron's doing. But right now we have Jack Peterson on that climb. It's a tricky climb to get up. You know, you want to hit that with a little bit of speed. You want to roll into it. You know, when you get to that point, it's best to just back it up and hit it harder, just like that.
Yeah, it's just not the spot you want to come to a complete stop.
The tough part is, you know, in these classes, the limiting them to a DOT non-sticky tire. I mean, you're just in a situation where you just have to work that tire. Also, if you'll notice, if you look at that tire when he was burning them down and climbing up that hill, it's a fine line. You want enough air in the tire so when you're in the desert section, you can get out and you can run with a little bit of speed. But at the same time, you want to air down the tire enough to increase that contact patch when you're on those rocks. When you saw him burning those tires, to me it looked like the center of the tire was just changing color, which tells me that the tire's probably a little bit cold. Therefore, it's not very pliable. They could be brand new tires right before the race. But either way, he probably would have been a lot happier with about maybe 5 pounds less air in those tires, but then that might affect him when he's out in the desert. It's tough. It truly is. These are truly the Swiss Army knife of vehicles. We're asking them to do everything that a T1 truck does everything that a rock bouncer does and everything that a dedicated rock crawler does on one day here in Johnson Valley.
So Jack Peterson's up across the line, finish line, and we'd be scored a time.
And now we have James Panzella lined up and off the line.
Nice looking car.
Also a 4800 series car. Heading over the Yukon launch there. That jump right there is called the Yukon launch. Everyone will be flying off that today. If anyone is watching this at home, or maybe you're here at Hammertown, you take a picture of somebody flying over that launch and throw a hashtag on there, hashtag Yukon launch, you could win a whole bunch of prizes.
Sounds like he's out there short shifting a little bit, not revving her up a whole heck of a lot.
Want to let the, well, you know, a lot of this comes into strategy as well. You're out here in qualifying. You know, the question is, how hard do you push the car right now? Yes, you do have a lot of time before you'd have to put it back together if you did break something. But, you know, it does boil down to how hard are you going to push the car in qualifying? How important is your starting spot? How much pre-running have you done? What's your race strategy? And that comes into play. You can see he took the far left line on that hill that nobody has hit yet today. And I think he's starting to change his mind on that or getting reset. That is a lot steeper, and it's a double it's not really an undercut, but it's a double ledge there. As you can see, he's kind of hitting it with both tires at the same time. Didn't carry enough speed into it. Looks like he's probably dropping that sucker down into low range right now, getting reset. Looks like he also has a co-driver with him out there today too. And to me, Scott, it looks like maybe he took your strategy. It looks like there's no spare tire on the back of that car.
He must have been watching the UTVs because the fast guys actually took that line right there and kind of let it drift towards the center.
Here we go. Looks like he got that thing possibly into low range now, and that is, it doesn't, you can't really tell on camera, but that is an incredibly steep climb, and the problem is you've got both tires trying to climb it at the same time. Any dust and dirt that gets on that hill, it just becomes so slick. It's very, very hard to crawl these rocks, especially with these DOT tires that are the non-sticky compound tires. It's very difficult to get them to just bite and crawl. You really got to hit stuff with speed, use a little bit of that horsepower, all the horse pressures under the hood. See, now he's trying to get over to that right section, but he's just fighting with that rock underneath his right rear.
Yeah, the fast guys and UTVs actually took that line, I want to say, at least the top three.
Well, but a lot
stayed to the left, and then kind of sort of drift or to the center, which gave them a direct line.
Yeah, but the UTVs don't have that same limitation. You know, a lot of them can run a competition tire out there, so they could have a sticky tire out there, so they would have the benefit of that. It does.
Plus, there's a lot of traffic out there last night, pre-running, and people having a little bit of fun, which didn't help things either.
It does make a huge, huge difference. See, he went over that right line. That right line seems to definitely be the hot ticket today in qualifying. I'm sure he's not happy with that. But at the end of the day, it looks like he's going to bring the car back in one piece. No big repairs having to be done. Maybe just a quick race prep and get it ready for the big race. On their big race is on Friday. Again, that's James Panzella in car 28. Looks like he may have got a little bit lost, or just doesn't really know which route he wants to take back into Hammertown, but he's coming home right now.
Yeah, either way, he's not being overly aggressive, not being aggressive any kind coming back into Hammertown.
Here we go. Now we're getting on the gas. Could have just been trying to get that car back into high range. Up over the top of the hill, through the arch, and back down into Hammertown.
Looks like he might have been the last one or one.
Yes, it looks like that might be the end of that group that has to head out. Looks like we have our next group lined up with us, ready to go. James Panzella on that 4800 car. You can see there's no one else lined up out there, but we're not going to have a huge break in the action. We'll have a bunch more qualifiers lining up here to leave the line just after 10 o'clock. Not very long.
That was 15 cars. We believe it was 15 cars. I think we may have missed one, possibly two. In hour one. Hour two, we'll have 16 coming out to the line, starting with Scott Morse in a 4800 car, Chris Brown and Jesse Lee, all in 4800s.
And just because you don't see them here on the qualifying course doesn't mean that they're not racing. You don't necessarily have to qualify. You can see some people will choose not to and just take the back of the pack start. All right, well, while we get ready for our next batch of qualifiers to line up, we'll take a quick break from the action. Remember, jump on over at ultra4racing.com/live, get that premium feed so you can, during these breaks, you can go watch a little bit of motos, have some more fun. But we'll see you soon here from Johnson Valley, California.
There's so many amazing foundations and off-road groups that come together to help push forward the love and the passion that they have for the off-road community. It's great to be able to see everybody come together at one event, especially out here in the desert, to keep pushing forward and live their dreams and passions. As a female that's in off-road and motorsports, the Jesse Combs Foundation holds a special place in my heart. Terry Madden, talk to us a little bit about the Jesse Combs Foundation and the plans for 2021.
Jess and I started to start her own foundation before this, and we discussed who we want on the board and what we were doing. And then when she had her accident, I took those people and we transferred it. It's been hard for me to participate a lot because it gets emotional and weird, but there's an amazing staff. Our primary goal lately has been scholarships. We were able to give out 30,000 scholarships last year. For our first year as a new foundation, that's a big deal. Help bring women into the trades and all the things that Jesse stood for.
As someone who is new to the off-road community in the Jeep world, it makes me very excited to meet people like Tim and Nancy from the Cal 4 Wheel group. What I love so much about this is if you are brand new to the wheeling community, there's groups like this that have open, welcomed arms. Talk to me a little bit about Cal 4 Wheel. What was the idea and why did you want to be a part of King of the Hammers this year?
It's a place where there are so many four-wheel drive enthusiasts and off-road enthusiasts here. It's a draw for us to help sell our tickets to raise money for Cal 4, to keep the lands open in California. That's what our sole purpose is to keep these trails open.
When the sun goes down inside of Hammertown, this is the place to be, the Tribe 16 Fire Pit. You've seen all the racing throughout the day. You've seen all the vendors throughout Hammertown. Now you want to sit and relax, and this is where I want to do it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Johnson Valley, California, Hammertown, USA. We're just getting ready for our next batch of qualifiers to get lined up and take off onto the Ford qualifying course today. So far, we've had our first group run today, set down some fast times. I'm looking at in the, I pull up a couple classes here, 4,800. We currently have a pole position of 158. With Sean Ratschke, I believe is how we pronounce his name. If I'm doing that wrong, run up here and tell me. We do not have a 4,600 place finisher. 4,500, Rick Lavezzo is holding it at 216, but certainly those are not the fast numbers that we're going to see today. And, while we have this little break in the action, the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see some motos. It's King of the Motos. We have so much action today, we couldn't bring it to you on one screen. So we actually have two dedicated feeds. That looks like motos coming down Chocolate Thunder from the looks of it. And these guys are out there racing King of the Motos. And if you want to watch the entire motos race, head over to ultra4racing.com/live. And you can subscribe to the premium package That way you can pick between these two live streams. Ricky Johnson's over there taking care of commentating duties on the motos. So if you miss Ricky's soothed, subtle tones of Ricky's voice, you can just jump over there and listen to him. He's always fun. This is another Johnson. Us Johnsons in Johnson Valley, we're just owning this joint. Now we can see our next batch of qualifiers lining up today. Qualifying Everyman Challenge all day today. So that's 3 classes, 4,600, 4,800, and 4,500. It's always fun to watch these guys take off and hit the dirt, just because there is subtle differences between 2 classes, and then that stock class sticks out like a sore thumb. No questions asked, but it's fun to watch these guys tackle the terrain. Sitting on the line right there is car 4858, Chris Brown, and that's obviously with a 48, that means it's a 4800 series car. See him sitting on the line, getting ready as soon as it gets cleared by the course officials. So as I said, that's a 48. That's our Legends class. Some people build cars specifically for this class now. Originally it was started for a bunch of old Hammers cars, and that one looks very familiar to me, so I'm sure we've seen it racing back in the 4400 days. As technology has advanced in the 4400 class. We've seen a lot of people take their cars and pull them out of 4400 and come down here and race in the 4800 Legends class. 4400 class is becoming incredibly competitive with lots and lots of very high dollar cars and lots of IFS in that class, IRS, a lot of technology, a lot of big power, big names. But if you're out here and you want a class that would be a great class to go out and race in, this would definitely be it. I've always joked that stock class would be where it's at, but then when you go out there and spend the day in the dirt in a stock class car, I think you'd probably change your mind pretty quick. It is not easy to drive these stock class cars through these Hammers trails. All right, and we are off the line. Chris Brown. Chris Brown, 4858. Heading through the short course here in Hammertown. Going to head out into the qualifying course. We have a lot of cars to get through qualifying today. As I said, we have multiple classes, multiple cars, and then of course we also have Power Hour. Later on this afternoon, that's where the big heavy hitter names of these classes are going to be taking off. Levi Shirley, John Matthews, Casey Gilbert, Cody St. Clair, Brad Lovell, Dan Fresh, Cade Rod, as we see he's heading up into that one rock section. We've seen people sort of pick multiple lines through here, both left and right. Seems to be the right line is the line that everyone likes, seems to really favor these cars. They're limited to that 37-inch tall DOT non-sticky tire. That right lane seems to be working well for everybody.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it almost looks like a little bit longer of a wheelbase. Is that, in this situation, just for, is it, you know,
that looks like an old 4400 car, unless I'm mistaken. It looks very familiar with that center-mounted vertical spare. I can't remember whose car it was, but I do remember seeing it years ago racing out here. It was a very, very distinctive look. And a lot of those Ultra 4 4400 cars, you know, they have that 116-inch wheelbase, which is sort of a good number to dance around with, and that's what a lot of cars were built to. And it certainly looks to be about 116.
But Chris Brown coming back into Hammertown, crossing the start-finish line, getting ready for our next competitor to come up for the four-wheel parts Everyman Challenge qualifying effort. That will be Jesse Lee in the 4819.
Yep, we have another car out on course right now, heading out through the short course.
Looks like there might be some sort of mechanic.
Certainly looks like
I
he's
just
pulling off.
called it,
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be one of those things, right? It's just, we said before, you know, when it comes to qualifying, sometimes it's best just to
Scheduled to come out next will be number 37 of Josh Pratt in a 4600 car. Or, I'm sorry, Josh Pratt.
No, that's not a 46.
Oh.
Yes, that is a 4600 car. Sorry, yes. Josh Pat. That would be your stock class. That's another one of the Toyotas. Very popular platform. LC Engineering on the side of that. You can see they're very, very well known in the Toyota performance world. It's a very, very popular vehicle here in Johnson Valley. You used to see these things all over the place. It was a very Toyota happy playground before all the horsepower showed up with King of the Hammers.
Is it because of the
A lot of it had to do with the
price point of a Toyota, or ease of being worked on, or what was
a lot of it had to do with the gearing. The gear, you could just add so many doublers and get these things geared so low. They would crawl so well. That's a good platform to start with. Leaf springs all the way around. A good budget crawler. And then plus, it's just an old Toyota, so when you smash it off every rock in Johnson Valley, you don't really care.
Just a quick reminder, once again, on the lower right-hand portion of your screen, you can see the motos action going on right now. And you might recognize where they're at, because I really...
That's Chocolate Thunder right there.
Chocolate Thunder,
yep.
Okay.
You can see that coming. That's coming down Chocolate Thunder.
And that is part of the premium package again. So check it out on the website. I believe it's $35 for the year. Get you added behind-the-scenes interviews, content from race teams. So if you're really into the sport and really want to get actually more into it, that would definitely be a package you want to jump on, check out.
Definitely worth the purchase right there. You can see right now we've got our stock class Toyota working his way through the rocks up here. He's going to come up. Everyone took this far left side, and then they moved all the way over to the right. This is the one problem when you get these non-sticky DOT tires out there. You can have all the gearing in the world, but you really, really need to have a little bit of power to get up these rock climbs when they're covered with that fine layer of Johnson Valley. It's almost like silt, almost like talcum powder out there, and the rocks just get so slick. That's why so many of us out here run sticky tires, but unfortunately these guys are not allowed to in their class. So you can see his tires are just fighting for traction.
Our next three drivers that are on deck ready to come up. Next one would be the 4832 of Chance Holloman. Michael Henn behind him, and then Richard Fenton will be the next three in line to come out for their four-wheel parts Everyman Challenge qualifying effort. And Josh is just having all kinds of issues.
Yeah, no, I think
It's almost like he comes up to the rocks, spins his tire on the rocks, backs up. It's almost like it clears it off and then is able to drive up. So.
It can, you know, you can do that. You can get into some of these spots. You can heat up the tires a little bit, you know, and get a little bit of the dust off there. But at the end of the day, it's just hard to crawl these rocks when they're covered in that fine layer of dust out there. It's almost better for him to be going a little bit later in the day, maybe have somebody in front of him. But the problem is when you leave this early in the morning, yes, there's been cars through there, but all night that wind's been blowing and just covering all those rocks, that fine layer of dust. You can see it being kicked out by his wheels. And then at the same time, these stock guys, you know, that's going to be probably a 22 RE 4-cylinder Toyota motor. You're just not going to have all the whoop-hows that you might need to get up those rocks.
Almost looks like a Desert 7S. But just can't seem to get the traction just yet. There we go. There we go. Keep her going. Don't slow down. Keep the momentum going.
Yeah, you just got to let that thing eat. It's hard, though, on those leaf springs. The problem with those leaf springs is looks like he's got it. He got it into the sidewall there.
Yeah.
He got it up there. The problem with the leaf spring rigs is they are great when you're crawling because you've got that solid front axle. You're able, it looks like he is...
Is he calling it?
I don't know. I'm wondering if he is unsure of where the qualifying course goes.
Yeah, he's going totally the opposite direction. So he just might be calling it the effort. Otherwise, he'd have to turn around, go back the same way he came.
Well, I don't know. We'll have to check with race ops. They may have a different qualifying course for them. I'm unsure. I did not check to see if the stock class had a... we don't know. We're just checking. I'm hearing in my ear that we're unsure. We're going to have to check with race ops. And looks like he's busting a left. So unfortunately, it looks like maybe he took a wrong turn. All right, so we still have a timer running on Josh Pat. When he realizes he went the wrong way, maybe he'll come back, or they may just throw him a DNF on that one just to say, you know, you didn't finish. I'm terribly sorry. You did not finish your race, and you didn't finish your qualifying. And it's a shame, too. He'd be the first stock class to actually come cross in.
Yeah, the hardest part of the course was behind him. That's for sure.
The good news is, you know, the stock class, it is a relatively small class. So, you know, qualifying position is not as important. It's still important. But a lot of these stock class cars, they're out here just to prove that they can do it. It is a battle all day. All right, next car off the line. 425.
And Husky takes the lead on that parade. What number's on this? Come on, get out of our way.
We need to get that flag girl, the check girl, over to the one side.
Oh, that must be, is that Michael Henn? Yeah, Michael Henn working his way through the infield, headed out of Hammertown in just a moment. Not setting a blistering pace, that's for sure, but you know what? This comes to be, he could make up for it on the rocks, how quickly he's able to climb that cliff.
It is tricky, as we've said multiple times today. All these cars limited to non-sticky DOT tires. The stock classes gets it even worse. They're limited to a 35. Our other two classes are going to be working with a 37, but it makes a huge difference when it comes to climbing these rocks. Looks like he lined up for that rock section and then rethought that one in a hurry. Said, no, thank you. I'm going to go up over here.
Looking good so far, man.
Yeah, he's making quick work of it. If you can keep momentum going up there, or as our old friend, our Jim, Gigglepin Jim would say, the hammers flow. That's how he would say it too. That's my English accent. to make him feel like he's still here. They get that Hammers flow. But yes, he made very, very quick work of that rock section, which was good.
He's actually looking pretty darn good so far. A few,
yep, Michael
few
Henny.
feet to go.
2 minutes, 23 seconds. You can see now we got a timer on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Got those up and running now, which is great. We'll be able to give you some updates as to who's where on that qualifying course as he moves through the Ford qualifying arch. And then heads back into Hammertown. Richard Fenton.
Long wheelbase.
4852. A lot of old Broncos coming out.
There's some of that HP you've been talking about.
That's the Whoop-Hows. That's what you need as far as I'm concerned. Always with the Whoop-Hows. Any Whoop-Out, all the horse pressures that you can put underneath that hood, you should put up. See a lot of early Broncos out and around here in Hammertown. Mainly because of the launch of the new Bronco. You can go over and look at a new Bronco. Heck, you can even go take a ride in one, apparently. Doing ride and drives just on their side of Hammertown, which is pretty cool. I like the fact that they actually have a frame on display, so you can actually see what it looks like underneath.
I'm really surprised by how many different models they have.
There is a lot of different models, yep, and it's super, super cool to see. So it's good to see some of these guys out here paying homage to the Broncos. If you paid attention to social media, you would have seen today that big Bronco drivers, Jason Shearer, Vaughn Gittin, Lauren Healy, released their new bodies for this year for KOH. All their cars will be looking just like the Desert Racing Bronco that competed down in Baja this year. So they have a full Bronco body on them now, which is really, really cool. But it'd be interesting to see how that affects their visibility when they're out on the trail, because it's certainly different than what most people run, and certainly different from what they've run in the past. But today, the story is all about EMC, Everyman Challenge. 3 different classes, 45, 48, 4600.
Did he just get the steering wheel ripped out of his hands? Because he hit that rock. He was going forward, hit the rock, and all of a sudden spun the wheels to the left.
It can, you know, it can knock it out of your hand. We have a lot of, even with full hydraulic, we do have a lot of feedback through the orbitals on some of these cars, and that you will get a feedback orbital. And so that could have actually knocked it out of his hand. Once again, the bottom right-hand corner of the screen,
2021.
we got motos going on down here. If you're watching at home and you want to see some moto action,
if you're watching
make sure
this,
to hook up to that premium
but it doesn't
feed.
just end with moto. That gets
In fact, when I step aside this veil and kind of listen to Ricky Johnson for a moment, he's coming through on our PA right now.
I always love
this Everyman Challenge and the big King of the Hammers event. We're going to be able to talk to some of the drivers, and there's Chris is pointing at those drones, that we're going to have a lot of that drone footage. So everything that you're seeing here, you need to get that and a whole bunch more for the other events.
Last rider coming through was number 83. That was Brian Fleming, taking his finish on loop number 1.
Yep. Want to thank some of the sponsors
for
the whole week, and that's we have Optima
basically
Batteries,
turned around and going back the way he
Cody
came.
Wagner,
It appears,
those guys have done a great
looks
job
like he's
supporting
just trying
this
to
event.
fight his way up
Also,
that one
Monster
section.
Energy,
I think that is the
Method
spot
race
that
wheels.
where
So
actually
if
it
you
looks
need
like
some
he may
new
have
shoes
a
for your
strap or
truck,
something wrapped
check
around
out
his
Method or your car
right
or your
rear
side-by-side
tire there.
or
I don't
your
think
rock
that's
car or
taped
whatever you
from
might
the
need.
course. I think
Method
he may have
race
actually
wheels has
something
everything
come
you need. Also 4-wheel parts.
loose in the
Griffin
car,
Wright.
and he's just, oh no, that is taped from the course, so that's not going to slow him down too much. But I think that's the section that we've seen a few people come up on the big rock section and then decide to go on that far left.
Boy, the way he took off out of Hammertown from the starting line, I kind of expected a little bit more speed up the rocks here, I guess. But he's making it now, but still struggling, just kicking up the dust. That is the first time that line has ever been used, whether it be UTV, Everyman Challenge cars, it doesn't matter. That was an interesting line right there.
He certainly worked it, no questions asked.
John Williams should be the next car in line at the starting line in the 45-35.
As Richard Fenton makes his way back into Hammertown in that early Bronco-clad rig, which is just looking super cool. So yeah, he had a little bit of trouble on that one rock section, but at the end of the day, he's still driving back into town, which is super awesome for him. Very, very happy to get back into town. Car in one piece, looks like. He's going to drive through the Ford qualifying arch.
And we've had, what now, 3 DNFs? 4 maybe?
We have had a few, yes.
You'll be starting in front of them at least.
Yep.
That's the motivation. You may not be the fastest car on course, but the motivation is to finish in front of, be able to finish the course and start in front of as many cars as possible. 509.75 for Richard Fenton, 509.75. And John Williams off the line in the 45-35. Nice looking car as well.
Tearing through the short course. Tearing through the short course here in Hammertown. All right, John Williams is out on course. You can see he's headed over that far right line. That's what we've been kind of seeing people take all day. Seems to be the good line. Seems to be working well for these guys. If they can hit it with just enough speed, it seems to be the best.
The more he spins, the more he slides backwards to the right.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before. You know, this is a 4500 series car, so it's a little bit different. You can see that they are they have 2 shocks in all 4 corners, so that's why you see that coilover and bypass. But they are limited to mechanical steering. There are some engine limitations as well, so they may not have all the horse pressures that they want underneath the hood of that car. But definitely able to do things a little bit differently. So the Legends cars out there, you'll hear them. They have that. A lot of them have that LS power plant. A lot of these cars, but based on the looks of that one, it looks like that might be Jeep JL, so it may still be rocking a little bit smaller engine underneath the hood. Really just depends on how they built it. But we've seen these 4500 cars be incredibly fast out here in Johnson Valley over the years. This is John Williams working his way through the rock section. He'll be headed up over through the Ford Arch and then back into Hammertown.
Dustin Bratton should be at the line right now, getting ready to take the green flag once John Williams comes across the start-finish line. Dustin is in the 45.06. And not a bad time, comparatively speaking.
Maybe right around that 3-minute mark.
Right around 3:24. Okay, 3:19.98 for John Williams.
Feel good.
Yeah.
We have another 4500 class car leaving the line right now.
Yep, it is Dustin Bratton. Justin Day in the number 23 of 4,800 cars should be on the line, getting ready to go. He's scheduled to be the next one. As we're watching John Williams, I'm sorry. No, that is Dustin Bratton. He'll have the John Williams time up.
Car seems to be doing very well out there in the desert. 4500 series car. That's what that 45 at the beginning of his number means.
Think he's stopping the shift? No, correct me if I'm wrong. I've never done this, so I'm on the outside looking in, Ian. If you come into something like this section, something like this, wouldn't you want to keep it in the gear you're in and go as far as you possibly can until you can't, and then shift instead of doing a way?
No, I would honestly probably want to do what he did there. You know, this car, depending on what gearing is in it, depending what transmission and engine, you know, he can get that thing into low range that far back. He can still carry a bit of speed. Sometimes when you get these cars up on the rocks, it becomes harder to shift them in and out of low range. So shifting it on a flat portion of the course like that is probably a very good decision. Stop the car right here, waiting up on the top. Right now he's just going to knock it in out of gear. Once you get used to shifting those transfer cases, it's a lot easier. This probably has an Atlas transfer case in it, which is the most popular case out here in Ultra 4. So it's a lot easier to shift those cases when you can get the drivetrain out of a bind, sitting flat, easily reach down and slip it in and out of high range. I think he did that right, and I think his time is going to reflect it for sure. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, right now we're watching King of the Motos, which is going on at the same time. I know we've been beating this to death all morning, but trust me, you're going to want to get on ultra4racing.com/live. Get that premium subscription, because this is just a taste of some of the extra stuff you're going to see this week from Hammertown. So much action going on here in Hammertown. Can't fit it all into one live stream. Getting that premium membership allows you so much extra access out here. And you know, a lot of the decision to do that came down to basically, you know, we have a lot of people that we know would not be able to join us here on the lake bed this year. So Hammer King decided to really step up the live coverage. I kind of make the joke about it right now. Hammertown is probably the safest town on the planet. Extensive COVID testing for anyone to get onto the lake bed. Hit tests every morning if you leave town and come back. We are keeping very diligent, our social distancing and masking up. You can see that course worker out there, even though he's just chilling out there counting down drivers. He's got his mask on, doing things right. Just trying to keep everyone safe here in Hammertown. Most importantly, keep our surrounding towns safe as well, because we are visiting their area. And off the line right there is Brent Harrell, 56 car. You can see that thing is tearing up that short course. He is on a run. You know, you just have to take one quick look around Hammertown or even drive in the morning, and you can tell that a lot of our fans and friends were unable to join us here in Johnson Valley this weekend, and completely understand that. For anyone who just can't make it out here or unable to travel, that's why we stepped it up and really decided to push the live stream even more this year. And right there on the left-hand side of your screen, we have some times that we can take a look at right now. So sitting pole position, Rick Lavezzo with a 216.64. Mike Miller with a 225. Michael Henn, D. Bratton, Jay Williams rounding out that top 5. Good mix there, 4,500 cars. And while we're looking at that, we're seeing Brent Harrell making quick work of that rock section. He is up and out at 125. That is a good amount of time. You can see him headed back into Hammertown. That is a 4800 Legends class car. That is actually a former spec class car is what it was. Or sorry, not a spec class car. It was the Crawl America car. That's Brent Harrell. His father races in the 4400 class. We'll see him qualifying later this week. That is his son, Brent Harrell. And that car is on an absolute tear. It's old Trent Fab car, been around for a few years, passed through a few people. He's right at the 2-minute mark. Looks like he's going to have a good time coming back into Hammertown. While he heads back into town, we're getting ready to have another one leave the line. Michael London, the 48-25. Really awesome to see a lot of these Legends cars. It's a really cool mix because, you know, you got a lot of Legends cars are old Ultra 4 4400 cars, like the car that we just saw. It was the old, as I said, it was old Trent Fab Crawl America car. Look at that. That's a Yukon launch right there. We've been saying all day that that jump is called the Yukon launch. We're looking for anyone to launch it off there, which he just did. Michael London sent it off the Yukon launch. But it does not look like it was a good decision. Based on the amount of smoke coming out of that car, it's hard to tell if maybe